if you don't know your numbers, your business isn't broken, it's just blind. You don't need a CRM, right? You need a sheet that doesn't suck too open. Success leaves clues, but only if you're tracking the right trail, if that makes sense. Automation is useless if you don't know what's worth automating. Once you figure out what works, you can scale it. But you can't do any of that until you track this data. As a real estate agent, do you know why you're not scaling? Do you know why that certain outreach method is holding you back? Or do you know why you're not a top producing agent yet, even though you've been saying to yourself the last 5 years, this is the year and I'm gonna scale. But yet you sat there going, well, why am I going backwards, not forward? The main reason, and probably the number one reason why it's not working, is that A, you're not tracking your data, or B, you're not tracking it well enough. And we're gonna go through both today. I'm gonna make sure that one, you actually know how to track your data, but also make sure you know exactly where your bottleneck is at all times. You're only asking the question, how do I fix this bottleneck, instead of what is my bottleneck? And the way I've got for you today is that I've got it on a Miro board, another lovely Miro board for you boys and girls to enjoy and to cherish, right? But yeah, if you're generally curious about who this British man is and why he's talking to you and why you should actually care about what he's saying, my name's Dylan Kirk. I'm the CEO and founder of Estato, and we basically help realtors make YouTube advertising systems that hyper focus on quality instead of quantity. Because we realized that 100 leads and 0 conversions is 0 leads because you didn't convert any because they weren't good leads to begin with. They were just names and numbers. So, I mean, here's a great example here of someone working with us, 12 deals in about 6 months. So really not that bad of a start. That's a system they keep for life. It's nothing that they get separated from. They keep it until the day they quit real estate, right? The entire channel as well is dedicated to actually solving this YouTube ad system, getting it set up yourself, so that way you're not forced to work with Facebook ad company number 567 or anything like that. So you can set it up yourself and make sure it's all good. We have examples of what good systems should look like, so go through there, have a look, and you should be all good, right? So going through how realtors can track outreach data easily and effectively without getting overwhelmed. So section 1, why tracking outreach is a non-negotiable. So just off the bat, right? So if you don't know your numbers, your business isn't broken, it's just blind. And this is ultimately what happens. So most agents forget who they contacted last week. When it comes to outreach, everyone's in the same boat and everyone's got goldfish brain, right? The last 2 seconds or the last 2 leads you spoke to, you haven't got a clue what they said to you or what the pattern was because your brain isn't designed for that. You're doing the work but have no memory of it, right? The leads fall through the cracks and that leads to lost commissions ultimately because your brain is not a CRM, it's not designed for that. It's designed to keep going, and that your systems and your CRMs are designed to do that load for you. Your brain can't compute with everything at once. You're an entrepreneur or if you're a realtor, like you have so many things to think about. Why would you add another hassle to your life by trying to remember every single conversation you have with someone, right? Ultimately, you waste time repeating convos or missed follow-ups. And volume means data. So you can't scale outreach if you can't track it. How are you going to know what's working in order to scale? Because that's how businesses work and that's how businesses scale, where you find out what works from it, and then you scale it up and you improve on it. But if you don't know what's working, how are you ever going to plan to scale unless you scale everything at once? Ultimately, that doesn't work. Tracking helps measure what's working and scale it up. So you go from tracking, improving it, growing, tracking a lot, split testing for DMs, emails, etc. And that can lead you to actually refining your scripts, eventually having a golden outreach system that you can scale and improve and dedicate all your money into, and suddenly you're £1 million a month, right? Getting to that sort of level. So most agents are actually just guessing, right? And that's the main thing. You're sending out DMs, you're making calls, firing off emails, but you don't know what's actually producing results ultimately. You don't know your outreach numbers. So you can't improve them if you don't know what's there. Track every form of outreach, so how many DMs you're doing, emails, calls, or texts you're sending, and which actually turn into responses or actually booked appointments. This alone could double your results without changing your strategy. In the first couple minutes of this video, I've already shown you how to review your business and scale it. You're welcome, right? But let's carry on for everyone else. So, section 2, what to track in every outreach method. Core 5 metrics you need. Contacted date, channel used, prospect name and info. 4, response outcome. 5, next action / follow-up. Outcome labels, no response, positive response, objection, book call, disqualified. And your effort versus return. So track how much effort is how much rewarded, right? So this is where you can really start to figure out ROI, and this is kind of why tracking is so crucial. So this is the basic one here. I've even made like a little workspace like spreadsheet for it. So date contacted, this is something you pick up yourself by the way. Date contacted, prospect name, channel, campaign source, initial message, response outcome, notes, objection logs. next action date, status. This alone, you can easily find patterns and see bottlenecks in your own system. At the end of the day, when it comes to business, a lot of it is just come down to systems and system refinement. So you just keep going, keep improving your bottlenecks, and eventually you'll get in a position where you fixed everything, or you fixed the majority of things that are causing you major issues, and you end up scaling from that. So it's really, really important that tracking is done every single day, every single week, no exceptions, absolutely. And this is where your ROI starts to work out really well. So you might think, oh, I haven't got time to spend 10, 15 minutes out of my day to actually track data. I mean, first of all, you're lying to yourself. Ultimately, that is the main thing you're looking out for. This tracking is going to net you the ability to actually get your time back and all the time you're tracking by actually multiplying what you're getting out of your outreach method, if that makes sense. So once you figure out your cold calling script, for example, is netting you 2 appointments per $100 done, well, you know exactly that $100 done equates to 2 appointments booked. So if you want to do a cold caller, if you want to just time it yourself from like, okay, cool, I'm going to do 2 or 3 hours of cold calling and see how it go. Well, you just netted like maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 appointments from that. So that alone can actually get you a long way. So that works really, really well there. But ultimately as well, the leads aren't ignoring you. You're just forgetting to follow up. So leads don't always convert on the first touch, and this is where tracking is really, really important. So most require multiple follow-ups. I've got a great follow-up system on the channel as well if you want to look at that. I could actually put it here for you as well. There you are, a good video there explaining basically the best follow-up system you can do and going from there ultimately. But getting back on topic, so this chapter is about treating follow-ups like an asset. So label each contact attempt, count them like touches in the sales candidates, and identify where most leads are dropping off. That's where tracking is so important. So the more you're tracking this, the more leads you'll close without increasing ad spend. And ultimately, you're getting more out of it for no additional resources, which ultimately is what you want. And in the first couple of minutes here, I've done that for you. So you are very welcome. And as I say, like, use a Google Sheet. Like, it takes 60 seconds a day at most, but if you want to do 10, 15 minutes to make it extensive, then by all means do it. But you don't need a CRM, right? You need a sheet that doesn't suck too open. Like, as I've just shown here, you don't need a fancy CRM. You just need a Google Sheet. I don't care if you have the ugliest CRM tracker in the world. As long as you can track it, you understand it, and you can go from there, that's all you need, right? Like, put in basic headers. As I said there, really, really good examples. So, day contacted, prospect, channel, campaign, initial message sent, response outcome, notes, objection log, next action, action to date, status. Example for Instagram DMs, that is fantastic. That's kind of all you need. Same thing with cold calling as well. Cold calling would be a bit more extensive about, but there's more like a general rule of thumb of what every single metric tracker you should contain. And that's ultimately what you should be doing. And even with this in mind, like, it just takes a minute or 2 a day at most. But again, if you want to be extensive or you want to make your own, then sure, 10 to 15 minutes tops. But gives you complete visibility into who's active, who's hot, who's going on, like, who needs another message, right? Like, this is the cheapest and the fastest way to get clarity without being overwhelmed. And ultimately, that's what tracking is for, to prevent you getting overwhelmed by how many people you're talking to. It should be clear, it should be concise, and you should know exactly what your bottleneck is and scale it, right? Next section, common realtor outreach channels to track. So success leaves clues, but only if you're tracking the right trail, if that makes sense. Yeah, section 3 is the common realtor outreach channels to track. So success leaves clues, but only if you're tracking the right trail, if that makes sense. So here are the common things. So these are all the common outreach channels that most realtors use. You probably use yourself. And I'll go through each one and just explain what you should be tracking. So cold calls, track call time, notes, outcome. Very simple. Use a Google Sheet plus a click to call app or dialer. Very, very simple there. I use Google Sheets myself and I've never really had a problem with it. Text messages, tag by campaign, open house, cold lead, buyer list, depending on what you got it from initially. Usually for more down the follow-up system point of view, where you're just tracking to see how far it needs to go. So use SMS apps like export features like OpenPhone, for example, there. Really, really good. Instagram, Facebook DMs, log usernames, convo start, objections, status, Trello board or Airtable with labels like responded, ghosted, etc. So yeah, I do this for Go High Level. Again, I'm affiliated with it. You get extended trial, but that's not what I'm saying it for. It's just a really, really good way and really, really easy way to tag who's good, who's not, and focus on the ones who are actually good. With Instagram and Facebook, that's the way I'll do it. A simple Google Sheet like that goes a long way. Emails, use Gmail plus a CRM tracker. There are very, very good plugins that I've used myself that are actually really, really good ones. categorized by campaign type as well, newsletter, direct intro, etc. YouTube ads, as you can expect there, I'm a YouTube ads expert, so that's how it works there. But YouTube ad, lead form, follow-up call. So log how lead came in, so ad copy, split test, A versus B. Really easy way there. Track first message, call attempt, and book status. When it comes to Google, actual like Google tags, really easy way to track who's actually coming from what. I also have a video dedicated to actually how you can track outside of YouTube. So if you're not doing it to like a Go High Level landing page, and you're just doing it to like maybe like a YouTube channel or like some website where you don't have the ability to track, Google has its own way of doing it as well as YouTube. So it's all inbuilt, you can do that there. In person, so open houses events, so creating a form, name, notes, rating, hot, warm or cold. So contact method, input to CRM or Google Sheets same day. You want to know exactly where everyone's come from and where they currently sit with it. Because if you could target only your ideal prospects, how many people do you think you could close, right? How many people do you think you could actually have a successful close rate percentage with? So if you can just imagine that and just picture only targeting your ideal client, well, this is how you do it. You track. Because then you eliminate people and you eliminate actual outreach methods completely where you're only getting low quality or just not your kind of people, and you go from there. Now moving on to section 4, tools that make tracking simple. So automation is useless if you don't know what's worth automating. In other words, you don't need to pay for automation or a big CRM until you're sending dozens of messages per day and booking consistent calls. So use the sheet until your volume demands more, until you actually need to do it. Because most agents, it happens a lot, you've probably done it yourself, where a lot of people jump to tools too early and end up with clutter instead of actual clarity. So master manual tracking first, because what you track improves. It's the same thing with pretty much anything you outsource. So with cold calls, you wouldn't outsource cold calling unless you've done it yourself and you know how it works and you know your own system. Like, develop your own system. This is the same thing I've done. Develop your own system first and then teach people how to use the system. That is the best way and basically the most foolproof way to scale without having any problems or any like performance problems with employees, because you've set the benchmark. You know exactly how the system works inside and out because you made it. So in that same aspect, you know exactly what you should be looking for in terms of metrics, what they should be netting you, and ultimately how you should be being rewarded for that. But just going through, so if in the beginner stack, Google Sheets, so as I've shown you before with this one down here, so you got the columns and stuff like that, the names, dates, channels, etc. Really easy. The easiest way that'll carry you to like your scalable time very easily. Intermediate stacking, so Trello board, cards per lead, label by method, and stage checklist for follow-ups. I use CRM for that, so again, I've not really delved too much into Trello boards and stuff like that, but it is a good in-between for if you're about to scale or maybe you're getting a bit busy now, where you start looking at these sort of labels here and just sort of label it and make life easy for yourself later on. Advanced stacking, so this is where when it comes to CRM, you can use Airtable, Notion style databases and have that ready for you. Pre-built forms and automation like Zapier to connect with Google Calendar, etc. or reminders for follow-ups. What I do, again, I use Go High Level. I am affiliated, so just letting you know there. But the way I do it with Go High Level is that depending on the response I get, it will automatically remove them from the calendar. It will automatically send them a follow-up message and keep them in a follow-up loop until they're either rebooked in or they're removed from the system. So I don't touch follow-ups really at all. Maybe someone on the team will do that, but for the most part, it's all automated. If they're not going to show up, fantastic. I've basically got every single word for I'm not going to show up to the call written down at Go High Level to where it gets removed, they get rescheduled, that sort of stuff there. So it's really easy and easy way to do. So yeah, as I say, use Go High Level affiliated, no shows cancellations are automatically moved and manually added to my own sales book. So I still manually add it to my own personal Google Sheet just to track the business as a whole, because Google Sheets is ultimately a really good tool for it. When it comes to everything else, that's when I do, that's when I pass it through. But when it comes to bonus tips, so automate with CRM only when manual becomes a bottleneck. So don't overbuild early, because manual gives you that awareness and ultimately you learn from that. And you should be noticing every single thing. And this is where, Ryan Holiday's book, this is just a bit of a tangent now, but Ryan Holiday's book, Obstacle is the Way, is so crucial. And having that mindset for everything is really basically going to make you ahead of the competition, because every single thing that goes wrong, you smile at. The reason why you're doing that is because there's an issue with the system and you can improve it. A bit like plugging holes in the ship, right? So you plug holes until eventually it floats or it keeps going. And that's essentially what I've done with all my systems. Whenever you've seen something wrong, you fix it. You keep that going, you run it through again, something's gone wrong again, oh, you fixed it. You keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. The errors become more few and far between, and eventually you've got nearly a perfect system. It's impossible to have a perfect system, just in my opinion. There's always going to be something, there's going to be some sort of bottleneck, but how much are you willing to let that bottleneck slide, and is it really worth your time to fix? Because eventually we'll get to that point where it's not worth your time to fix, and you just keep it going. It's a very big tangent, but I feel it's just really important to add that note. But yeah, just want to let you know that. So section 5, how to use the data to improve your outreach. So once you figure out what works, you can scale it. But you can't do any of that until you track this data. But this is the fun stuff where you can start going, right, which methods are bringing in the most bit calls and which one gets ghosted the most. And that way you can start demolishing outreach systems and bring in new ones or refine the ones you've already got. This time you're rebuilding your business. It's kind of the fun stuff. Objection patterns notice. So recurring objections, price, timing, trust. Are you like getting to the point in sales again where they go and cut to the chase, for example? Again, in person, you're probably not going to get this. But when it comes to a lot of people who are maybe not the most well trusted with realtors, or maybe they have a hard time talking to you as a person, then you could actually just look at that, Google, YouTube, anything that you're most commonly getting that you've noted down, and just improve that. There you are, bottleneck fixed. Just keep that going. Adjust your messaging. Time ROI. So 2 hours of DMs versus 1 hour of calls. Who won? The great example earlier when I said per $100 done, you're getting 2 calls booked. Well, if you're getting 2 calls booked per $100 done, that's a pretty good ROI. I mean, even general cold calling. So if 2 hours of DMs are not getting you much, then just cut it out. Just cut it out completely. If it's not working, just remove that and double down on the calls that are working. Follow-up gaps. Find where follow-ups didn't happen and plug leaks. Weekly review ritual. End of each week with like a 10-minute review. Like how many reached, what's worked, and what's next. So you basically go through and just go, right, this is what I do personally on my weekends because I'm a really happy person. I go through the end of each weekend, review the data, and go, right, what's the action plan for next week? What can we do to improve the week we've just had? And most of the time, it is just double down on what we're doing. But yeah, here's your next steps. So just to make sure, just at the end of this video, you're actually doing well, this is what you do. So start with one sheet, keep it simple, keep it trackable. Pick your main outreach methods. So if you're doing cold calling, or if you're focusing on more referrals, a bit harder to track. I wouldn't personally do that myself, but something like open houses, emails, DMs, that sort of thing there. Whatever your main outreach system is, plug it in and put data around it accordingly. So like prospect name, date, etc. Track 5 columns max. Don't make it overcomplicated. Don't track what kind of dog they have. Just keep it simple. Make sure it's really easy to do, because the more complicated you make it, the harder it's going to be for you as well. It's going to be a mental obstacle to actually go through and input the data day on day. You want this to be easily trackable as well as easily inputtable. Review it weekly as well. You'll want to review it weekly. Don't make it monthly like I see some realtors do, because that's too late for a change. By the time it's gone to the end of the month, you put in an action plan, another bottleneck's come through. So it doesn't really work like that. And also, if you can measure it, you can fix it. And that's true for basically anything in business. So if you can measure it, you can fix it. And if you fix it, you close more deals. So that's it for the video. I would share you my Memorable there, but unfortunately my recording has just turned itself off for some reason. But yeah, that's essentially how it is. If you want this Memorable yourself, DM me on Instagram or put it in the YouTube comments. If you DM me deals, I'll personally look through and actually build you an ad system. I think we'll be able to be a really, really good team there. But yeah, for the most part, track your data. The first couple minutes video explain why it's so important, and ultimately I gave the game plan away for you. So feel free to do it. If you want the actual template that I provided in this video as well, drop a comment. I'll personally give it to you and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. See ya.